So I'm the only one that's going to keep you from the mingle session, right? So I'll try to make it quick. My name is Ajay Rane. I lead global business development for the telco business at AWS, and it's my pleasure to be here. So the title of my presentation is Moving Beyond the Hype Cycle of IoT, right? We've seen all the predictions about IoT, how by 2020 you'll have 50 billion devices and so on. So what happened, right? Why don't we have 50 billion connected devices so far? Many reasons, and we'll look at some of them. So my goal here is not to point fingers or anything, but just evaluate, where are we today, and how can we get to 50 billion hopefully in the next 5 or 10 years, right? And to that end, I what I did was I assembled pieces of information from analysts, from other companies, from some of our partners. So you'll see a bunch of data that I'm going to present that is all in the public domain, so we don't have any special permission or any secret things that I'm presenting today. So just want to put that disclosure up front. So if you look at the hype cycle first, right? So Gartner talks about the hype cycle, and it's for any new technology, any new product, and every product as it goes through its life cycle goes through this cycle of hype, and so this is the Gartner hype cycle. It's a little bit dated, but you'll see IoT is now in the trough of disillusionment, right? Or at least 3 years ago. Meaning now it's getting to a point where we're starting to see the reality, right? So the reality is starting to hit us that yes, 50 billion maybe was a little bit too much. And now the real applications and use cases are coming out, and people are adopting IoT. It's not that it's not happening, right? And very soon you'll see that the hype and reality will start to separate out, and companies will start making money and also looking at what are the different applications and use cases that they will be using IoT for. And so today's presentation is also going to talk about what are telcos doing and what are industries doing, and sort of give you a view of what exactly is happening in the industry and how can telcos like Telenor help industries and customers such as yourselves. And we're doing this at a global scale with all of our telco customers. And you need to take a step back and understand the telco business a little bit, and then we'll go into what is happening, right? So if you look at the telco value chain back in 2010, right? Globally, $2.9 trillion in value was created by telcos. So back in 2010, if you're a telco, 54% of that value chain is coming from selling connectivity, right? Which is $1.5 trillion out of the 2.9 trillion. So if you're a telco, you're selling connectivity, you're really happy in 2010, right? But guess what happened 10 years later? The top line number went up, or more than doubled, from 2.9 to 6.3 trillion. But the connectivity number went up very little, from 1.5 to 1.6. So where did all the growth come from? It came from digital services, right? Which the telcos were not ready in 2010, right? Because as we all know, a lot of it was OTT, many different things, definitely not IoT. So digital services, and if you look at that in what happened in the last 10 years, the same thing is happening now in this decade. And we're seeing that inflection point in the cloud, where companies, enterprises, and even telcos are moving to the cloud. And this is transforming the industry and the business of telecommunications and connectivity also. And this is an important point to note, because what we're seeing is the more advanced telcos, including Telenor, by the way, are moving to the cloud to take advantage of some of these services and transforming themselves from a telco to a techco, a technology company. So it's no longer about providing telecommunication services and connectivity. there are other services that they're also providing. And Telenor IoT or Connections is a perfect example. You saw what they're doing with the platform that the earlier presentation with IoT Connect, and that is exactly how telcos can transform you or help you transform your business, because there is a lot of information, data, and services that uh, telcos like Telenor IoT have that could benefit you. And partnering with AWS, uh, we offer that undifferentiated heavy lifting that is required to enable some of these complexities that exist in the business. And so this is how, and again, this is from Analysis Mason and Forrester. What does the B2B value chain look like, right? So from a telco perspective, there is about 10% of that value chain, not just telco perspective, in general, B2B IoT, 10% of it is, or 5% of it is about hardware, and connectivity services around 10% of that. And there's platforms and there's services on to the right hand side. So what we're seeing is a lot of the telco offerings are now moving up the value chain, where it's no longer focused on just 15% of the value, which is looking at connectivity services and platforms, but also looking at other applications and services, end-to-end integration services, and so on. And that is the value that partnering with telcos can bring to you as an enterprise, because you may not have that core competency where you would need to invest heavily in the IT aspect of it. Uh, you don't need to, right? Because you can partner with the telcos, partner with the cloud vendors, and to get there. And as an enterprise, this is what we believe many of our enterprises are telling us what they're looking for, right? First, they're looking for, they don't want just connectivity, right? They want a lot of other things. They want to look at cost flexibility, faster time to value, and especially in the IoT, right? There's so many POCs that fail because it takes too long to see the value. So how do you generate faster time to value? And of course, one of the biggest challenges with IoT is complexity, right? It's super complex. Many of these solutions, they they are so bespoke that they don't scale, and enterprises fail to see the value in many of these cases. So how do we address all of these, right? And one of the things, a concept that I recently came across, this is an older article from Boston Consulting Group about the bionic enterprise. So if you look at an enterprise, it's going to be made of people and robots and other equipment, right? So bionic enterprise is exactly that. The Webster Merriam dictionary definition is that having biological capabilities or performance that is enhanced as if by electronic or electromechanical devices. And if you look at how companies are evolving today, there are two main areas. One is there's data and data-driven platforms and services that come with it, as well as there's the human aspect of it, which is around people and some of uh, you know the changes that take place, not just from an HR perspective, but even otherwise. And it ultimately to accomplish certain outcomes, right? So if you look at what corporations need, they want to look at what are their key objectives, and what are they trying to achieve, and why are they in business for. In order to do that, you need that data and and all the platforms that they have, plus the people. And it's very important as corporations to be able to retrain your workforce to take advantage of some of the new technologies. And those are the key aspects which will define these corporations of the future, especially as you look at new technologies like AI and generative AI now, but many other technologies, even robotics, so many other things that companies use, where previously you had, let's say in a factory, you'd have operators who would operate the machine and physically do the work. Now you need to retrain them to actually set up processes on how the robot will do the work, and then they will do the auditing, whether it's doing it correctly or not, because it's not everything is autonomous. Right? And that is what we mean by the human aspect of it. So any organization will need to do that to evolve. And what we're seeing is companies who are taking advantage of that, especially looking at new technologies, including AI, you will see a dramatic shift in some of the KPIs that they get measured on. And I know it's a little bit hard to read, but essentially there are boosters because of the digital adoption, because of migration to the cloud, looking at AI/ML, looking at automation. All of these things will affect their productivity, affect the enterprise value creation, and so on. And those are very important factors to consider as an enterprise. Is, how do you take advantage of all of these new technologies that are available, and how do you invest in your workforce, especially retraining them, and then assigning uh, parts of your organization. In many of these enterprises, you'll see that more than 15% of their workforce is dedicated towards future technologies like AI, like robotics, and others. And those are the things that help these companies improve their productivity, improve their margins, and in the end, create enterprise value for their shareholders. So this is where a lot of the technologies that are out there can help you, and companies like AWS and Telenor, because we are investing in developing these new technologies to help you as an enterprise take advantage of these so that you can succeed and you can get there faster, realize value quickly. Uh, we heard earlier from Nils and I'm sorry, Alexander, yes, about how you have invested in creating a platform which also takes a look at your competitors' information, right? And I think that is a very smart thing to do. And that is the concept I'm going to explain here in a minute about a data synergy platform. And this is sort of also an extension of what can be done with Telenor, where today, if you look at how IoT is sold and how companies acquire IoT technologies, it's all in silos. And you have best-in-class ISVs that provide, let's say, computer vision or fleet tracking and so on. But as an enterprise, that is not the only thing they look at. Right? Large enterprises, and many of you represent enterprises, both small and large, where just a computer vision solution is not going to solve everything that you need. Right? You have 10 different IoT platforms that are running inside your enterprise. And each one of them is generating data. And they're all best in class, so no doubt about that. But as an enterprise, to get value out of these platforms, you have to make some more investments on top to get all that data together, to get insights, and to get business outcomes that will help you make decisions and drive whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. And there are very few platforms that exist today. And as an enterprise, you are now forced to go to your IT departments who are struggling with other things and now asking them to look at some of these things, right? Which becomes very, very challenging for them as well. And this is where the industry, whether it's from AWS, our partners, or Telenor and others, we can offer this data synergy platform where essentially what we're doing is taking the data from each of these siloed platforms and bringing them into your data lake for IoT and using that to create business outcomes to help you make decisions, whether it's about operating your factory, so from the shop floor to the top floor. You will need different decision metrics, right? And unless you have all of that data, it's very difficult to do that. And that's what the platforms of tomorrow need to evolve to, is look at transforming the business by providing business outcomes, not just a siloed best-in-class IoT platform. And that's where it is evolving to. And And those outcomes, and I can give you some examples of that. So these are the few areas where AWS is working with our customers and our partners. One is working with the telcos to transform their businesses from being a telco to a techco. And these are some of the examples that I'll show you some examples of what we're doing there. Also working with our enterprise customers and transforming industries, moving them to the cloud, looking at how can they use data that they generate as well as even other data to make decisions. And then ultimately also looking at transforming customer experience, whether it's a consumer or even a business, because many of you sell directly to businesses. It's still a customer, right? And how do you transform that experience with us? So that's what AWS is focused on. And here are some examples. I have like 10 different industries. I'm not going to walk you through every one in the interest of time. But today, if you look at IoT solutions, they're, let's say in manufacturing, they're just focusing on automation and robotics. The business outcomes in that scenario need to look at, cost, look at efficiency, site security, worker safety. All of those things require collecting data from all of these different IoT applications and service providers that you have to be able to make those business outcomes happen for a manufacturing setting. And so on, and you can read through those. Like I said, I don't want to go into all of them. And if you look at some more industries, whether it's media and entertainment or the automotive industry, there are many different business outcomes that require to be solved. And as AWS and through our partners, we have solutions that can help you get there. So lean on us, to do all the heavy lifting for you, where we already have partners. And again, AWS business, as Anna pointed out at the beginning, it's all dependent on partners, right? Our entire AWS business is predicated on partner success. And that's why we are investing heavily in helping those partners develop solutions, which ultimately will help our enterprise and SMB customers accomplish what they want to do. So that's how our business works, helps you transform your business. And here are some examples of how AWS has been working with telcos globally with some examples of what, with SK Telecom, for example, we launched computer vision as a service that is coming from SK Telecom, and it's available to other telcos globally, also to their enterprise customers in South Korea. We have Telenor, we did a project around rural connectivity for Telenor, and so on. So again, just some examples of how AWS partners with the telcos globally to bring some of these services and some of these capabilities for our collective customers. And then in terms of reimagining the customer experience, a recent example is working with TELUS, which is a Canadian operator, where we help them transform and reinvent the smart home. Where, if you look at today's smart homes, telcos don't really have a play in the smart home, where they're just reselling hardware. But with TELUS, now they're able to offer customer experiences, whether it's on energy conservation and moving them beyond just selling devices, but actually working with the energy providers and creating a virtual power plant to be able to monetize that demand response system. And they're actually offering their customers an Amazon gift card if they participate in a energy emergency or situation. So it's things like those that we've been working with the telcos to help transform their customer experiences as well. And so my last slide, just a call to action, right? In terms of how can you as enterprises help us and partner with us? So first thing is, don't do it yourself, right? Look at partners and look at AWS, look at Telenor. How can we help you deliver the business outcomes that you're looking for? Also, look at IoT as an enabler, right? Not just another technology widget. So it's IoT is not a technology. It's an enabler for what you want to do. Um, Cloudify, again, you don't need to have on-prem data centers. I think that part is clear when you talk to AWS. So, so I will not harp on that. Simplify, right? That's again very, very important. The whole IoT business, as I like to say it, is littered with skeletons of failed POCs, right? And why? Because they're very, very complex. There's no clear goal. People just start with a POC and let's try it. No, it's not going to work, right? We need to understand what you're trying to accomplish out of that. And there are, again, many solutions that have already solved the complexity. So you need to look for the right solutions and the right partners for that. And then adapt, right? You need to adapt. Things are evolving all the time. A year ago, we didn't even know what generative AI was, and now everybody's talking about it, including me right now, but at the end of this presentation. But anyways, it's very important to adapt your business to the newer technologies and see what's relevant for you. I mean, don't just adopt it for the sake of adoption, but adapt your business to get the right technologies in. So that's the call to action. Let's make 2024 the year of what I would like to see, the IoT resurrection, right? Because there's definitely value to IoT. It's just that we need to have a different approach, and we'll get away from this trough of disillusionment and the hype cycle, and everybody will attain entitlement. So enlightenment, rather, not entitlement. So thank you.